Have you ever considered that some endings are not just possible, but written into the very fabric of creation? That a final, cataclysmic day is not a choice, but a destiny waiting to be fulfilled? This is the story of Ragnarök, the twilight of the gods, a tale not of if the world would end, but when and why its destruction was always inevitable. In the grand tapestry of Norse mythology, Ragnarök is more than just a battle. It is the ultimate prophecy, the final chapter in the saga of gods and giants, a preordained doom that hangs over the 9 realms like a gathering storm. For the Norse, the cosmos was not eternal. It was born, it lived, and it was destined to die in a blaze of fire and ice, only to be reborn anew. This was not a failure of the gods, but the fundamental nature of their existence, a cycle of cosmic scale that even Odin, the All-Father, could not escape. The end was not a threat, it was a promise. The engine of this inevitability was prophecy. Unlike in many other beliefs, where fate can be altered, in the Norse world, destiny was an unyielding force. The gods were not ignorant of their doom. Through the visions of the Valva, a powerful series, they were given a chillingly detailed account of their final moments. They knew who would strike the first blow and who would fall last. This foreknowledge did not grant them the power to prevent Ragnarök. It only burdened them with the certainty of it. Imagine living every day, knowing the exact circumstances of your death. This is the weight the Geir carried. They did not fight to avert their fate, but to meet it with honor, courage, and a defiance that would echo through eternity. Their struggle was not against the end, but for a worthy end. Long before the final battle cry, the world itself began to unravel, signaling that the prophecy was stirring. The first sign was the Fimbul winter, the Great Winter. For 3 long years, an unrelenting winter gripped the realms, with no summer in between. Snow drifted from all directions. The sun grew dim, and a biting frost settled over the land. This endless cold was not just a physical hardship, it was a spiritual one. It mirrored the cooling of hearts and the freezing of kinship. Bonds of family and honor, the very bedrock of Norse society, crumbled. Brother turned against brother, driven by desperation and greed. The moral fabric of the world decayed into a state of universal conflict. Oaths were broken, innocence was lost, and a wolf age, a sword age, descended upon humanity. Even among the gods in Asgard, the breakdown of order began, as their own past misdeeds and broken promises started to bear bitter fruit. As the world withered, the chains that held back the forces of chaos began to snap. For ages, the gods had bound their greatest enemies, believing they could contain the inevitable. But fate cannot be imprisoned forever. Fenrir, the monstrous wolf, and son of Loki, who had grown so immense that even the gods feared him, finally shattered Gleipnir, the magical ribbon that held him. With a howl that shook the foundations of the cosmos, he was free, his jaws gaping wide enough to swallow the heavens and the earth. From the depths of the sea, another of Loki's children, Jormungandr, the Midgard serpent, began to stir. The colossal serpent, so long it encircled the world, rose from the ocean, thrashing in a rage that sent tidal waves crashing against every shore, poisoning the air and water with his venomous breath. And from his long imprisonment, Loki himself, the architect of so much divine sorrow, broke his bonds. His heart, once merely mischievous, was now filled with pure vengeance. He gathered an army of the dead from hell, sailing aboard the ghastly ship Noglfar, built from the uncut fingernails and toenails of the Data, horrifying testament to the world's decay. The forces of destruction were no longer contained. Chaos was not just coming, it was unleashed. The final clarion call was sounded by the god Heimdall, the ever-watchful guardian of the Bifrost Bridge. He blew the Jallarhorn, and its piercing note echoed through all 9 realms, a solemn announcement that the end had begun. The armies of gods and giants converged on the great plain of Vijara. It was not a battle for conquest, but for existence itself. Odin, the All-Father, cloaked and armed with his spear gun, charged headfirst toward his prophesied doom, the great wolf Fenrir. It was a valiant but futile charge. The wolf's jaws opened, and the king of the gods was consumed, a sacrifice to an inescapable fate. Nearby, Thor, the mighty god of thunder, faced his own ancient nemesis, the Midgard serpent. With a furious roar, Thor swung his hammer Mjolnir and crushed the serpent's head. He was victorious, but as the beast thrashed in its death throes, it spewed a torrent of venom. Thor took 9 steps back before succumbing to the poison, falling dead upon the blighted earth. And Heimdall, the herald of the end, met his own final destiny against his bitter rival, Loki. The two fought with a hatred born of ages, and in their final clash, they killed each other, a perfect, tragic balance of order and chaos, extinguishing one another. In the end, nearly all the gods fell. Their deaths were not a sign of weakness, but a profound statement about the nature of their world. They were powerful, but not omnipotent. They were immortal in a sense, but not eternal. Their fall demonstrates that in the Norse worldview, nothing, not even the gods, exempt from the cycle of life, death, and consequence. They were born into a world with a built-in expiration date, and their very existence was defined by the struggle against that countdown. They made difficult choices, broke oaths, and sacrificed honor for what they believed was the greater good, but these actions only tightened the knots of fate. Their mortality, in the face of an unchangeable destiny, is what made their final stand so heroic. They died not because they failed, but because they were destined to. Yet, from the ashes of the old world, life stirs. Ragnarök is not just an ending. It is a violent, necessary cleansing. After the fire and floods subside, a new world emerges from the sea, green and beautiful. The sun, before being devoured, gives birth to a daughter, a new sun that warms the reborn land. A handful of gods survive the cataclysm. Odin's sons, Vrl and Vr, walk the new earth. Thor's sons, Morai and Magni, inherit their father's hammer. Mjolnir, its power now a tool for building, not just for war. Baldur, the beautiful god of light, returns from the realm of the dead, his resurrection a symbol of hope and renewal. And from the world tree, Yggdrasil, which somehow withstands the destruction, emerged to humans. Leave and leave. Razor who hid within its trunk. From them, humanity will be repopulated, starting a new cycle in a world free from the old grievances and ancient hatreds. So, what did this apocalyptic story mean to the Norse people who told it? Ragnarök was a reflection of their own worldview. It taught them that life is a cycle of destruction, and creation, that endings are not just about loss, but also about the potential for renewal. It instilled in them an acceptance of fate, an understanding that some things are beyond our control. The most important lesson was not how to avoid one's destiny, but how to face it. The highest virtue was not in winning, but in fighting with courage and honor, even when defeat is certain. To face the inevitable end, with your head held high, to look doom in the eye and not flinch. That was the ultimate expression of the Norse spirit. Ragnarök reminds us that all things, from the smallest life to the grandest cosmos, must eventually end. But it also whispers a timeless truth, that in every ending, there is the seed of a new beginning. And in the courage to face that end, we find our most enduring legacy. Thank you for watching.